The night was cold, and the wind carried dust through the broken streets of the colony. An alien mother walked slowly, her arms wrapped tightly around a small child. The little girl coughed weakly, her breath shallow, her skin pale and thin. The mother's clothes were torn and faded, but she held her daughter close as if warmth alone could keep her alive. She looked at the buildings around her, tall steel walls built by humans, filled with bright windows and laughter inside. But outside, where she stood, there was only silence, hunger, and despair. Her stomach growled, but she ignored it. Her eyes were only on her child. The little girl whispered, "Mama, I'm hungry," and the mother's heart broke into pieces. She sat down by a corner, pulling her daughter onto her lap. Her hands were shaking as she touched the cloth around her shoulders. It was not just cloth, it was part of her culture, her last belonging from her world. Her people had been scattered after the war, her husband gone, her family lost. This piece of clothing was the only reminder of who she was, but now it was useless if her daughter died. Tears filled her eyes, but she wiped them away quickly. Her daughter could not see her cry. The mother forced a smile and whispered, "Don't worry, little star, I will find you food." But deep inside, fear twisted her heart. She had nothing left. She stood up again and looked down the street. At the end was the human marketplace, always loud, always filled with light. She had avoided it for days because the stares, the whispers, and the cruel words always burned her soul. But now she had no choice. Her footsteps echoed against the metal floor as she walked. Every step felt heavy. Every breath felt like a battle. The girl coughed again, and the mother held her closer, whispering, "Just a little longer, please." When she reached the market, the smell of food hit her nose. Warm bread, roasted meat, sweet fruits. Her stomach twisted, but she focused only on her daughter's faint breathing. Humans stopped to look at her as she entered, some in shock, some in disgust, others with pity. Whispers filled the air. An alien beggar. Look at her clothes. She should not be here. The mother ignored them, her eyes locked on the merchants selling goods. One of them, a man with a cruel smile, noticed her. He looked at her clothes and laughed. "You came to sell that? It's worthless here." Her heart pounded, but she stepped forward, holding her daughter tighter. Her voice was soft, trembling. "Please, just enough for food. She is sick." The man smirked, shaking his head. "Alien cloth. No one wants it," he said loudly, making others laugh. The mother's cheeks burned with shame, but she did not turn away. She stood there silently, her eyes begging even when her lips did not move. Another merchant, an older woman, stepped closer, her face less cruel but still cold. "I will give you a few coins," she said, her tone sharp. "That is all it's worth." The mother nodded quickly, not caring about pride anymore. Her daughter's cough grew louder, and the mother pressed her forehead against the girl's hair, whispering, "Just hold on." The coins were dropped into her hand, light and cold. She closed her fingers around them, her tears threatening to fall. For the first time, she let go of her cloth, her last treasure. The merchant snatched it away without another glance. The mother walked away slowly, the coins clutched in her fist. Behind her, laughter and whispers continued. But she kept walking, her focus only on the food stalls ahead. Her daughter's voice, faint and weak, asked, "Mama, can we eat now?" The mother forced another smile, though her throat was tight with pain. "Yes, little star," she whispered. "Tonight, you will eat." But in her heart, she wondered, how many more nights could she fight like this? The market was alive with sound, the clash of metal, the cries of merchants, the laughter of children running between stalls. To the alien mother, it felt like another world, one filled with life and energy, while her own life was fading like the last flame of a dying candle. Her daughter's head rested weakly against her shoulder, her small hands gripping the mother's torn cloth as if afraid to let go. She moved deeper into the crowd, the coins in her hand clinking softly. Humans turned to stare, their eyes following her, some curious, some hostile. Their whispers floated through the air, sharp as knives. "She doesn't belong here," one man muttered. "Look at her child, they're starving," another voice said, though it carried no kindness, only pity mixed with disgust. The mother lowered her gaze, her heart heavy with shame. She had once been proud, the wife of a brave soldier, the daughter of a noble family on her world. Now she was nothing but a shadow, a stranger begging among humans. Still, she kept walking, because her little girl's shallow breaths reminded her why she must endure. She reached a stall where fruits glistened under the light, their colors bright and tempting. Her stomach growled loudly, and she quickly turned away. The vendor looked at her and laughed. "Can you even pay for one of these?" Her cheeks burned, but she held out the few coins, her voice quiet. "Please, bread, anything that can last." The vendor snatched the coins, counting them with a smirk. "You will get only scraps with this," he said, handing her a small piece of hard bread and a bruised fruit. The mother accepted it without complaint, holding it carefully as though it were treasure. Her daughter opened her tired eyes, her lips parting in a faint smile when she saw the food. That smile gave the mother strength, even if the bread was rough and the fruit nearly spoiled. As she stepped away, she noticed eyes following her, not with laughter but with something different. A human soldier stood at the edge of the marketplace, his uniform dusty from patrol. He was not laughing, not whispering. His gaze was steady, troubled. He had seen her earlier when she sold her last cloth, and now he watched her again. The mother felt her chest tighten, fear mixing with hope. Would he chase her away, accuse her of stealing, or worse? She hugged her daughter close and walked faster, trying to disappear into the moving crowd. But the soldier did not follow. He only stood there, his jaw tight, his hands clenched at his sides. It was as if he was fighting with himself, trapped between duty and conscience. The mother found a quieter corner, sitting with her daughter on her lap. She broke the bread into small pieces, giving the first bite to the girl. The child chewed slowly, her eyes half closed, but her expression was full of gratitude. "Eat, Mama," she whispered, trying to hand back a crumb. The mother shook her head, smiling softly. "No, little star, you eat first." Her stomach ached with hunger, but her heart swelled with love. From the shadows, the soldier still watched. He saw how the mother refused to eat, how she gave everything to her child. His chest tightened, memories of his own mother flashing in his mind. Back on Earth, his family lived far away, and he had not seen them in years. Yet here, before his eyes, an alien woman carried the same love, the same sacrifice that any human mother would. The marketplace noise faded into the background as the mother rocked her daughter gently. The girl rested her head against her, whispering faintly, "I'm warm now, Mama." Tears stung the mother's eyes, but she kept smiling, even as her heart feared the next day. She knew the little food she had would not last. She knew her coins were gone. Tomorrow, she would have nothing left to trade, nothing left to give. But still, in that small moment, watching her daughter eat, she felt a spark of hope. Even if it was fragile, even if it was fading, she held on to it. Unseen by her, the soldier turned and walked away into the night, his mind restless, his heart unsettled. Something about the alien mother's sacrifice would not leave him. And though he did not yet know it, her struggle had already changed his path forever. The night had settled over the colony, but the market lights still glowed, spilling brightness onto the cold streets. The alien mother sat in a quiet corner with her daughter resting on her lap. Her eyes were heavy with exhaustion, but she stayed awake, guarding her little one against the chill. Every cough from the child pierced her heart like a blade, yet she whispered comfort, "Sleep, little star, Mama is here." Not far away, the soldier walked slowly through the crowd, his boots echoing against the metal floor. He was young, but his eyes carried the weight of years spent on distant worlds. He had fought battles, followed orders, and seen death, but what he saw tonight disturbed him more than any war. An alien woman, stripped of everything, still choosing to give every last crumb to her child. He leaned against a wall, arms crossed, trying to understand the feeling burning inside him. His training had always been clear. Aliens were different, dangerous, not to be trusted. But the picture before him shattered those words. What danger could there be in a starving mother holding her fragile daughter? What threat was there in a woman selling her last cloth just to keep her child alive one more day? The soldier closed his eyes for a moment, memories flashing. He remembered his own mother back on Earth. She had worked long hours to feed him, her hands rough and her face tired. Yet she had always smiled at him, always whispered the same words at night. Sleep, my little star, I am here. The same words the alien mother had just spoken to her child. The similarity struck him like a hammer, and suddenly, he could not look at her as an alien anymore. He watched as the child stirred weakly, her small fingers clutching the mother's arm. The woman leaned down, kissing her forehead, whispering in her strange but gentle accent. The soldier felt his throat tighten, his heart pounding against his chest. Something inside him wanted to step forward, to give them food, a blanket, maybe even hope. But his boots stayed rooted to the ground, because duty screamed louder than compassion. His commander had warned them, do not get involved with outsiders, do not show weakness, keep the colony safe. Helping an alien, especially one with a child, could mean punishment, or worse, exile from the military. Yet as he stood there, the line between orders and humanity blurred. He was no longer a soldier watching an alien. He was a man watching a mother fight against despair. The marketplace began to empty, merchants closing their stalls, laughter fading into the night. The mother remained, rocking her child, whispering lullabies in a language the soldier did not understand. But he didn't need to understand the words. The love was clear, the sacrifice undeniable. She had sold her dignity, her belongings, even her pride, but she had not sold her hope. And that hope was keeping her daughter alive, even if only for another day. The soldier turned away finally, his fists clenched at his sides. He walked into the shadows, but the image of the alien mother followed him. It haunted him as he marched through the streets. It echoed in his mind when he tried to rest. Her hollow cheeks, her trembling hands, her child's faint smile, it was burned into him. No amount of training could erase it. No order could silence it. That night, as the soldier lay on his bunk, staring at the ceiling, he whispered to himself, "She is no different from us." The words felt dangerous, but also true. He had seen many things in war, but never had he seen such courage, such sacrifice, such love. And deep down, he knew this was only the beginning, because something inside him had already decided he would not be able to stay away. Not from the mother, not from the child, not from the truth of what it meant to be human. The alley was narrow and cold, the metal walls echoing with the distant hum of machines. The alien mother sat against the wall, her daughter curled on her lap like a fragile bird. The food she had managed to buy lay before them, a piece of rough bread and the bruised fruit. It was not much, but to the little girl, it looked like a feast. The mother broke the bread into tiny pieces, her trembling fingers working carefully. She placed the first crumb into her daughter's hand, smiling even though her lips were dry and cracked. "Eat, little star," she whispered. "This will make you strong." The child nodded weakly and put the bread into her mouth, chewing slowly. Her small face lit up with the faintest joy, and for a moment the mother's heart felt warm. When the girl tried to hand back a piece, whispering, "Mama, you too," the mother shook her head. She pressed the girl's hand gently, closing her fingers around the food. "No, my love, you must eat," she said softly. "I am not hungry." But in truth her stomach ached like fire, each wave of hunger clawing at her insides. She ignored it, choosing instead to watch her daughter eat. The girl's eyes closed halfway, her body leaning against her mother's chest as she took another bite. Her breathing calmed for the first time in days, and the mother exhaled with relief. Even if she went hungry again, this moment was worth it. She would give everything, even her life, just to keep this little one alive. From the shadows, unseen by her, the soldier watched. He had followed at a distance, drawn not by orders, but by something else. Something in his chest refused to let him walk away. Now, standing hidden, he saw the truth more clearly. The alien mother had not eaten a single bite, not even touched the fruit. Every crumb went to her child. Every choice was for her survival. The soldier felt his throat tighten, memories tugging at him again. He remembered nights when his own mother had done the same. She had pretended she was full, pushing her share of food toward him. Only years later did he realize the truth, that she had gone hungry so he could eat. And now, across species, across worlds, he was watching the same sacrifice. The little girl finished half the bread and the bruised fruit, her eyes closing in drowsy comfort. The mother hummed softly, a lullaby in her alien tongue. Her voice was tired, yet tender, wrapping the child in warmth words could not give. The soldier's chest ached as he listened, even without understanding the language. Love was a language of its own, and it needed no translation. But as the night deepened, the soldier noticed something else. The girl's breathing was still weak, her cough rough and dry. Food had bought her time, but not health. She needed medicine, warmth, safety, things the mother could never buy with a handful of coins. The thought pressed on him like a weight, heavy and unshakable. The mother leaned her head back against the cold wall, eyes closing for just a moment. Her hand never left her daughter's hair, stroking gently, as if afraid the child might vanish if she let go. Her body shook with exhaustion, but she forced herself to stay awake. Because sleep meant weakness, and weakness meant danger. She whispered again, "I will not fail you, my little star." The soldier clenched his fists, torn between fear and resolve. Every instinct told him to walk away, to pretend he had seen nothing. But his heart told him another truth, that if he turned his back now, he would never forgive himself. He whispered into the night, as if answering the mother's vow, "And I will not fail you either." The stars above the colony shone faintly through the smog, distant and cold. But in the darkness of that alley, a fragile bond had begun. The mother did not yet know it, but her sacrifice had awakened something in a human heart, and that spark would soon change both their lives forever. The night grew colder, and the market had fallen silent. The alien mother sat in the same alley, her daughter sleeping lightly against her chest. The little girl's breaths were shallow, uneven, each one sounding like a struggle. The mother wrapped her arms tighter around her, whispering comfort even as fear gnawed inside her heart. From the shadows, the soldier stood again, watching. He had tried to leave, tried to return to his barracks, but his feet had carried him back here. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the image of the mother breaking bread and giving every crumb to her child. Duty told him to walk away, but conscience anchored him to this place. Finally, he stepped forward, his boots scraping against the metal ground. The mother's head snapped up, her eyes wide with alarm. She clutched her daughter closer, pressing the child's face against her shoulder as if to shield her from danger. Her voice was low but fierce. "Please, we have nothing left to take." The soldier stopped a few steps away, his hands raised slowly in peace. "I am not here to harm you," he said, his voice calm, almost gentle. He reached into his pack and pulled out a small piece of bread, still warm, wrapped in cloth. He placed it on the ground between them and stepped back. "For her," he said simply, his eyes glancing toward the little girl. The mother's eyes filled with suspicion, her body tense. She had learned long ago that kindness from strangers often carried a price. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "Why? Human, why would you help us?" The soldier hesitated, his throat tight. He thought of his own mother again, of hunger, of nights filled with sacrifice. "Because no child should suffer like this," he answered, his voice heavy with truth. The mother looked at the bread, then at the soldier, her heart torn. She wanted to refuse, to hold on to pride, but her daughter stirred weakly, coughing. Her choice was already made, as it always had been. Everything for the child. She took the bread slowly, breaking a small piece and pressing it into her daughter's hand. The girl opened her tired eyes, saw the food, and smiled faintly before taking a bite. That small smile pierced the soldier deeper than any weapon ever could. He crouched a little, his voice lower now, almost a whisper. "What happened to you?" he asked. "Where is your family?" The mother's eyes darkened, her gaze distant. "There was a war," she said softly. "My husband never returned, my people scattered, my world lost." She looked down at her daughter, brushing hair from her face. "All I have left is her, and I will give everything, even myself, if it means she can live." The soldier swallowed hard, struggling against the tide of emotions rising within him. His orders, his loyalty, his training, they all warned him to end this conversation now. But the sight of the little girl's frail frame and the mother's unbroken will kept him rooted in place. He removed his cloak, worn but warm, and placed it on the ground near her. "You'll need this tonight," he said, his tone firm but kind. The mother stared at it, her lips parting as if to refuse, but then her daughter shivered. Slowly, with shaking hands, she pulled the cloak around the child, her eyes glistening. "Thank you," she whispered, the words rough, almost broken. The soldier turned slightly, as if preparing to leave, but his steps faltered. He looked back once more, his voice low, almost a promise to himself. "This colony has many rules, but I cannot follow all of them," he said. "Not when I see this." The mother tilted her head, uncertain, afraid, yet curious. "What do you mean?" she asked quietly. The soldier didn't answer directly, his jaw tightening, his thoughts a storm. Instead, he looked at the child once more, then at the mother, and said, "If you need me, I will be here." With that, he stepped back into the shadows, his figure fading into the night. The mother held her daughter close under the human cloak. Her heart trembled with confusion, fear, and something else she had not felt in a long time: hope. She kissed her daughter's forehead and whispered softly, "Sleep, little star, maybe tomorrow will be different." Above the colony, the stars remained distant and cold. But in the silent alley, a fragile promise had been planted. A promise that might one day grow into something powerful enough to defy both hunger and war. Morning came slowly to the colony, but for the alien mother, the night had never truly ended. Her daughter lay curled in the human cloak, her tiny body warm for the first time in many days. Yet her cough had grown worse, sharper, each breath a painful sound that cut into the mother's heart. Food had given her strength for a night, but it could not fight the sickness spreading through her. The mother touched her child's forehead and felt the heat rising. Her heart sank. She knew this was no ordinary fever. The little one needed medicine, and medicine cost more than she could ever beg or trade. She sat still for a long time, her arms wrapped around the girl, her eyes staring at nothing. Then, slowly, her hand moved to the bundle hidden deep within her clothes. Inside was the last piece she owned, a dress woven in bright threads from her home world. It was not just fabric, it was memory, it was the last gift of her husband, the symbol of their union. She had carried it through war, through hunger, through every loss, refusing to let it go. But now her daughter's shallow breaths forced her to face the truth. What good was a memory if the child who gave it meaning did not survive? Her hands trembled as she pulled the dress from its hiding place. The colors shimmered faintly in the dim light, still beautiful even after all the hardship. She pressed it against her face, inhaling the faint scent of her past life. Tears spilled freely as she whispered, "Forgive me, my love, I cannot keep it any longer." With her daughter still sleeping, she wrapped the dress carefully and carried it to the marketplace. Every step felt like walking on broken glass. Humans turned their heads again, whispering, pointing, but she no longer heard them. Her world had shrunk to one thought: sell this, save her. She reached a merchant's stall and laid the dress out. The merchant's eyes widened, impressed by the rare alien weaving. "This," he said, his voice thick with greed, "is worth something." The mother's voice cracked as she begged, "Enough for medicine. Please, I need it for my child." The merchant stroked his chin, pretending to consider, then offered far less than its worth. But the mother did not argue. She only nodded, her pride already broken long ago. The coins clinked into her hand, heavy with promise, yet light compared to what she had lost. Her fingers closed around them, and she ran, not walked, ran to the medicine stall. There, behind the counter, the human apothecary eyed her suspiciously. "You again," he muttered. "What do you want?" She placed the coins down, her voice trembling. "Medicine, for fever, for lungs." The apothecary counted the coins slowly, then shrugged and slid a small vial toward her. It was little, barely enough, but to her it was salvation. She clutched the vial and hurried back to the alley, her heart racing. But when she reached her daughter, her body froze. The girl was barely awake, her lips pale, her chest rising and falling with difficulty. The mother knelt quickly, tears streaming as she lifted her child and whispered, "Stay with me, my little star, stay." Her hands shook as she fed the medicine drop by drop into the girl's mouth. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the child coughed hard, her body trembling, before settling into weak but steadier breaths. The mother sobbed with relief, holding her close, whispering again and again, "You will live, you will live." From the shadows, the soldier had appeared once more. He had followed her steps, watched her trade the dress, watched her desperation. Now he stepped forward, his jaw clenched, his eyes filled with something fierce. "You should not have had to do this," he said, his voice shaking. No one should. The mother looked up at him, her face streaked with tears, her arms around her child. Her voice was soft, broken but strong. I will give everything, even myself, if it means she lives. The soldier knelt beside them, his eyes meeting hers. Not anymore, he said firmly. No more sacrifices, not while I live. For the first time, the mother did not answer. Her eyes searched his face, wondering if his words were real or only pity. But the way he looked at her child told her the truth. This was not pity, it was a promise. And in that fragile moment, in a cold alley under the gaze of distant stars, a line was crossed. A soldier's duty had changed into something greater, and a mother's endless sacrifices had finally reached the point where she would no longer be alone. The night air was quiet, broken only by the faint hum of machines above the colony walls. In the alley, the alien mother cradled her daughter, the medicine slowly calming the fever. The girl's breathing grew steadier, each rise of her chest a fragile victory. The mother wept softly, relief mixing with exhaustion, her tears falling onto her child's hair. The soldier remained beside them, silent for a long time. He had seen war, he had seen cruelty, but he had never seen strength like this. A woman who had lost her world, her husband, her home, yet still refused to let her child go. Her sacrifices had cut him deeper than any wound on the battlefield. Finally, he spoke, his voice steady, carrying the weight of a vow. You will not face this alone anymore, he said. I will help you, whatever it takes. The mother looked at him with tired eyes, disbelief clouding her face. She had heard promises before, promises that turned to ash. But this one felt different, not because of the words, but because of the way he looked at her child. There was no pity in his gaze, only determination. She whispered, her voice breaking. Why would a human risk so much for us? The soldier hesitated, searching for the right answer. In the end, he spoke from the heart, because love is not just human, it belongs to all who can feel it, and I will not stand by while it is destroyed. The mother lowered her head, overwhelmed. For so long she had carried the weight of survival alone. Now, for the first time, she felt it lighten, if only a little. She held her daughter closer, whispering, maybe the stars have not forgotten us after all. The soldier pulled a small packet from his satchel, more bread, a blanket, even water. He placed them beside her, then sat down on the cold ground, his back against the wall. I will keep watch tonight, he said firmly. Rest, your child needs you strong. The mother wanted to argue, but her body betrayed her, heavy with exhaustion. Her eyes closed slowly, and for the first time in many nights, she allowed herself to sleep knowing someone else was there. As she drifted into dreams, the little girl stirred and opened her eyes. She looked at the soldier, her gaze weak but curious. He smiled softly and whispered, Sleep, little star, your mother has done enough. Now it is my turn to protect you. The girl's eyes closed again, her tiny hand gripping her mother's cloth tightly. Above them, the stars seemed brighter than before, no longer distant, no longer cold. In that small forgotten alley, among broken walls and empty streets, a new bond had been born. A soldier who had once seen aliens as outsiders now saw them as family. A mother who had once carried sacrifice alone now carried hope beside her. And a child who had once been on the edge of death now breathed softly in the arms of both. The colony would not change overnight. The dangers were still there, the rules still harsh. But something had shifted, something that could not be undone. A soldier had remembered his humanity. An alien had found compassion where she expected none. And together, in their fragile connection, they had proven a truth that no war could erase. Sometimes, the smallest sacrifice is the spark that lights the path to a new future. Sometimes, humanity is not about blood or species, but about the choices we make. And in the darkness of that night, under the endless stars, humanity was found again.